Hey guys, welcome back to Mantalk.ke. Thank you for coming back for another episode. We're so excited to be here. This one is quite special. I'm going to tell you all about why after I tell you about where we are. As normal, we are back in Kafisi. We're in 9 West. And what's really special about this location is there's a lot of tech in here. So if you're a creator, there's like a podcast space, there's a green room. There's a lot that you can do in here. As well as that, co-working space equals network. So if you want to build your network, especially if you're into content, etc., 9 West, Kafisi, the link is down below. We really hope you come to enjoy the space too. So thank you, Kafisi. Now, Oscar. I'm going to give them context as to why we are jittery, excited.
Oh my God.
Well, I am anyway. So this shoot was supposed to have 3 people. Unfortunately, they could not make it. So we're all about innovation here at Mantalk. Innovation.
I'm going to regret this day. I can already tell. Anyway, keep going.
When we realized it's not going to happen, we said, how do we pivot? The center of our business is pivoting. And we did that today.
Okay.
So we said, we've done an episode back in season 5 where it was getting to know me.
Okay.
And we decided, you beautiful people are going to get to know Oscar. Because I feel like both of us are quite different online. Like I've exposed a certain amount of myself that I'm comfortable with in terms of my page, etc. You're relatively new to social media and now you're on Mantalk. So there's a lot of theory and your mindset is explained, but we want to get to the crux of how you got that mindset. Because you give a lot of value, but we want to know where did that come from? How did you grow as an individual? So, every time a guest comes, Oscar, we have a set of questions and it's very easy to ask them.
First of all, guys, I want to say this. If you look carefully, I'm being held here against my will.
Yeah, you can see there's a bit of...
The production team, everyone has said, Oscar, this is actually opportune. This is the time for it to happen. Yeah, and sure. I'm very, I'm very open. But yes, there's limitations with
limitations.
There's certain boundaries that I've put in place that I feel Eli is about to transgress.
Yes, this is correct.
And hence our excitement as to how exactly this episode is going to go.
Yeah.
But Eli, please remember, tomorrow morning, I'm still your business partner.
This is true. Listen, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Today, we get to see his wonders performed. So, Mom, you'll like that one. So, I feel so good right now.
I can tell.
So, Oscar, like I mentioned, we always ask questions to guests. It's very easy.
Okay.
But today I want to ask you the question that you came up with in our template. You always, when there's a man here, you say, tell me one thing that is positive for you about being a man. You've asked that question a million times.
I've asked it a million times.
But now
it's my turn. I think Eli, for me, the thing I love most about being a man is the ability to, and you will see it in my story, is the ability to completely reinvent and recreate yourself from a place where you weren't necessarily happy with the direction your life was taking and to a place where now you're actually contributing to society in a way that you are happy with. I feel like as men, it's often understated. If you want to improve your fitness, you can put in place a routine and actually get to that place. If you want to increase your knowledge based on a specific subject, you can begin to expose yourself to that literature. If you want to expose yourself to business, you can educate yourself on business and actually implement the frameworks that you're learning. And that for me is the biggest asset I have as a man, because as I continue to grow, I continue to add value to those who are around me. So my enlightenment, I'm not enlightened, but my enlightenment and the journey that I've taken to get more enlightened and to get wiser, I can see other people benefit from it, and it's an extremely gratifying thing.
Yeah. So, which literally ties into our whole thing of growth is imperative.
Exactly.
Right? So evolving that's a brilliant answer. Fun fact, I knew you'd say that because we talked about this.
I hate this. Guys, I didn't know he'd know that I'd say that.
We talked about this in Social House, remember?
Yeah.
We talked about this because we talked about the reinvention as a man.
Yeah.
We do talk like this off camera too. And I remember you saying this. Remember when we sat there, I said this episode is all about?
I told you that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
Yeah. This is going to be a good episode.
Yeah.
So the next thing, at least in a season, there's about 8 episodes. 6 of them, you'll mention South Sea.
No.
And that's
Oh, we're having too much fun here. Okay.
Minimum of 6. Minimum of 6, right?
Yeah.
So I want us to finally understand this this amazing place that you tell us about a lot, and how it's formed you in your formative years, and how you still are regular there. You like where you have come from.
I love where I
you
came
love where you come from, and so that's a beautiful thing. So I want us to explore that,
Yeah.
which ties into the question that you always ask guests. Tell us about where you grew up and how that's informed who you are as a man today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll dial it slightly back. So I was born in Eastlands, which is Umoja. So my mom was a lawyer. So when she got me, she decided to move into a larger house. And so she found a publishing house, which was called Sasasema. I don't know, when we were kids in Kenya, we used to have a lot of books. So the founder of that company, her name is Laila Luce. So she taught me English. She basically taught me how to read and write. And so I was exposed to a lot of culture at a young age. So the Star Wars theories, the comic book, the Marvel life, the DC comics. So I was literally raised in a place that was just full of books and movies.
Okay.
Yeah. So so I could see the creative process that writers used to go through. That's comic drawers, like shout out to Toof. I don't know if you'll ever see this. Gado, who used to draw news columns. Those relationships I've had like since I was born, literally. Yeah. So like I was exposed to a lot of that multiculturalism when I was very, very young, like when I was in nursery school. So I grew up in that house, in that environment, just learning as much as I can, reading a lot of books. Computers was also something I discovered because Laila was very much American. So I learned a lot from her and from spending that time in that house. So I grew up there. The first house manager I grew up with, her name is Joy, actually owns a school now. Now she's the one who used to feed me. And she tells me till today, like, I'll never forget that if I wanted you to calm down, I'd put to a story and you just sit.
You had good taste.
Yeah,
You had good
come
taste.
on, one right. You know?
Yeah.
So that's there's context here. So when I started in South B that way, so that kind of multicultural inclusion mindset that I had was taken to South C. So South C, soon enough, obviously my mom, our family grew, so I couldn't live in that publishing house anymore. So we moved to South C. And by that time I was 6, 7. But like you always have to remember that my background was to be more inclusive, to be more exposed, right? So around that time, I was growing up seeing now a lot of communities in South Sea. So you have the Somali community who just come in from Somalia because there was I was born in '94, so around the civil war had happened in Somalia, so a lot of immigration had come in, a lot of immigrants had come in from Somalia. And instead of, a lot of Kenyans, I think, instead of embracing, there was a little bit of friction, because instead of embracing the new culture that was coming in and this influx of new people, there was still a lot of, there's still a lot of unsettlement. And there was also a need to feel that like you need to occupy that new space. So when I was very, very young, when the Somali boys would come in and we'd play with them, like we'd play football. If they didn't embrace you, like it would get rough, like really rough. But if they embraced you, it was like a brotherhood. Exactly. So I understood that when I was very, very young, like 8, 9, 10. When we were playing football together, I'd be with Ali or Mari. So while other, like some Kenyans would look at, the Somali community in a certain way. For me, these are people I grew up with. These are my brothers. Like you need to watch your mouth.
Exactly.
And you know what happens if you don't watch your mouth. Like I tell you. So I grew up in kind of that setting. And South Sea, the other thing that it also really has is that there's a lot of musical history with South Sea. Exactly. Where I grew up, the songs we used to skip to come from the Ogopa DJs. So Ogopa DJs, the base of Ogopa DJs was South Sea. So a lot of the artists, K-Rapt, Issa, I think Kleptomaniacs as well. All those, the Ogopa DJs crew, those were the guys who I grew up listening to. And that culture of music and rap and hip hop is very much what came into. While other people were playing football and all that, for a lot of us growing up in South Sea, soccer was there, but basketball was like because of hip hop. So so like basketball. So it's a huge part of who I am. It's a huge part of who I am personally. So these friendships that I have had like since those informative stages, and I will shout them out.
Of course,
I'll shout them out as you continue to ask your questions. But there are friendships that's come from there that have made me who I am today as well. So South Sea is big for me.
From what you've said, I can literally see every trail. The shoes, still the brotherhood thing still. And you know what's really funny about the, I don't know if funny is the right word, what's interesting about that is, you know, when people come from different backgrounds and they get to like 19, 20, they're like, I want to go travel and I want to experience different cultures.
Yeah.
You had it on your doorstep. So that growth for you happened before, when people literally pay a lot of money to go and be like, I want to go and immerse myself in the community, understand how different people live. So that's incredible.
And understanding the value of books, for like, you know, the value of literature and how you get to experience other lives through literature, like Harry Potter, things like Harry Potter as an African, like we've read, a lot of Africans have read Harry Potter. And that allowed us to kind of understand the British way of thinking, you know, the kind of separatism that you see, the class system. Why would J.K. Rowling write about muggles and magicians? Why would she feel the need to separate that if she did come from a society where those separations and those divisions actually exist? So small stuff like that.
I was actually never allowed to read Harry Potter in my house.
Really?
Parents were very Christian and said, nope.
No,
witchcraft. Hey, that is the lie. So witchcraft. That's one area of growth. That's your formative years.
Exactly.
Quite young. And I know you left that environment, etc. afterwards.
Yeah.
But I want to know, if now we're looking at the scope of Oscar, that was the formative years. There's where you are now. There's the in between, like the uni stage. Which part of your journey in your life are you most proud of the growth? So, like, is it the formative years, how you grew there, like the uni stage, or like now as Oscar?
Now.
I knew you'd say that.
Traps everywhere, guys. Traps.
Follow-up question. Tell us about this growth.
Okay. So now. So let's. So I've like I said, I kind of come from a background where like education and literature is something that's been taken seriously, and then, you know, the kind of brotherhood and teamwork that comes with, you know, growing up with friends. Now, when I hit Form 4, this is very important, right? When I hit Form 4, I did very well in primary school, right?
Form 4 is how old? Just for my
16. Okay. Oh, sorry, for context of the audience. So primary school in Kenya runs from around I think the 9 to 15. Around 9 to 15. Then secondary school is 16 to 15 to 18.
Okay.
Like 14, 15 to 18. I started school slightly earlier, so 14 to 18 is secondary school. And I have one of my friends who I've had since I was in nursery school, and you know him. So like he is literally my dad. He can open the files and tell you, oh, Oscar, this is how you do it. And for him, I can do the same thing. So when we got to high school, we went our separate ways. I went to boarding school in Meru. Actually, earlier than that, I went to boarding school in Meru. Did really well, and went to Alliance. Now, when I was in Alliance, there was a shock that I went through, because, like, you know, you're used to, you know, a certain lifestyle and stuff. So, like, I didn't do as well as I should have in school because I didn't adapt to those environments as well as I should have. So I went through that. Then, in my fourth form, took education seriously again. Then managed to do relatively well. Then went to law school. This is very important for context, because you have to now start seeing. So in law school, I now started the culture of kind of challenging myself. So because like I went to Strathmore Law School, and I was in that kind of pioneer class. So these are like 60 of some of the best and brightest people I've ever met in my entire life. Right. And during that phase, I feel like there was a lot of discovery that happened, but there was also a lot of winning. Right. There was like that. Okay, now my first time, like now I want to go out of country, going to India. And then going and interacting with, because I went to India to teach English through ISEC, shout out to ISEC. And then I interacted with now an international community. And I found that those investments that I made when I was very young, like you've said, paid off, because like they were finding, he's African, but there's context to conversations that he has. The comfortability. And he's so comfortable and so confident in himself that he was actually like taught from a very young age. And you know, also my mom and dad like drummed it in my head, like you're special. You're special. Like you can do great things if you set your mind to it. So that's upbringing that my mom gave me. Assisted me a lot in India. So now the winning starts. So I now enter that season of like winning. So finish first year, I start doing really well. Then now I have a plan. Second year, third year, I went to Cisco now for my internship in my third year. I used to be in oil and gas. Now I'll tell you about my career. Like I used to love oil and gas when I was younger, because I knew that like you have to remember the context of the cultures that I come from. South Sea, in case I went over that part, is not a high income
Yeah.
I don't come from a high income kind of neighborhood. It was like a lower middle income neighborhood. And at the time, maybe lower to upper.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was lower middle income. So that's why the immigrant population could really interact with us. And that's why there's that healthy mix of culture.
Yeah.
But like when I went to Strathmore, every day I'd see a stream of people walking from Kibera, which is the largest slum in Africa, going to work and walking back. And I'd literally like leave class and join that queue and go home, like walking. Or go play basketball. And like it kind of sunk in my head when I went abroad, when I went for that India trip, that poverty is a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like all of us are living in this bubble, but poverty is this really real thing. So I developed a passion for economics, finance, oil and gas, like money management, because I had kind of seen the quality of life, the disparities that exist.
Yeah.
And you know, like the legal profession in Kenya is one of those places where those disparities exist within the legal profession. So you'll see the lawyers who live ridiculously well, and there are lawyers who live in an average way, and there are those who are climbing towards that. Right. So like when I was very young, I kind of caught that, the fact that like now the quality of life, and you've in my own life had continuously grown, South B, South C, and then now I live somewhere else where like it's now upper middle class, because those differences really informed my the decisions I made as a young person. So when I went to India and then I learned more about giving back and how you can contribute, I came back now with new energy. You see, so I came back with that knowledge of you can actually contribute towards positively changing people's lives.
Right.
Yeah. So it was like I was woken up during that phase. We'll get that.
No, this is enthralling. Yeah.
So once I went through that, like you can see now I'm in a phase of life where I'm winning. I go get an internship to London because just because of being proactive, managed to fly off to London in the middle of my third year. Shout out to Dr. Louis Franceschi. I went to his office, knocked his office and said, I have this opportunity. How do I, what do I do? He was like, nah, this semester, you worried about that? No, I'll talk to the faculty. We'll figure out a way.
Right.
And like they made me have that experience of going now to London. Okay. And that's why me and you have a very kind of healthy relationship, because like from that experience I had going to work for Cisco in the UK, I kind of, because I understand kind of the young Londoner's life, because I lived it for literally 3-4 months. I lived it, and I spent a lot of time with people in London, people of color, and the disparities that are there, and the people who are, let's say, posh. Because you can imagine when you work in a company, especially the way I kind of got that opportunity, they put you right in the middle, so they want to show you everything. Exactly. So you're shown the guy who comes to work in a Tesla, then it's 2015, and when no one knows what a Tesla is, but he's updating his car through using a phone. And meanwhile in Kenya, we still don't know how to buy iPhones because they're too expensive. So kind of just seeing those disparities, and even the law school I went to, going to Europe and the trips that were there. So like I said, university for me was winning, right? So I get a really good job. At that time is when I decided to lie to myself to settle down and find a girl, get a, Anyway, let's laugh. Anyway, so at that phase of my life is when like everything is at its peak, right? And then now between 2017 and 2018 is like what I call the great crash, like of my life. So I've talked too much as an interviewee, so I will pass him over.
So those experiences that you've talked about, because I wanted to find out about the most. So you're proud of that moment of growth in terms of going, uni, winning, etc. And there's a really funny thing you said there. I keep using the word funny, not funny, but a really interesting thing you just said there, where you found the culture of giving back, right?
Exactly.
Do you still feel that that's something that maybe it was a seed planted?
Exactly.
Stuff's happened and now you've been able to do things, even like what we're doing now, because of that? Because it's the same energy,
it's
just
the
in
same
different
energy.
In different areas.
Exactly, same energy.
Because I see that passion when we're talking about what we want to achieve with this. I still see that thing where you want to now, because one of the things you've always said to me is when you were going through the time we're about to talk about, there was no platform, there was no one that looked similar to you, similar age, not too old, not too young, that could say positive things about your situation. Because typically what we find is that a lot of the media that we consume as young men here and everywhere else is toxic, and because it seems to sell. And there's been a trend, even when this goes out, if it still be happening, about men and podcasts and the toxicity that comes with that. And one of the beautiful things that you said, which makes me so happy to be like one of your partners here, is that Your thing is you want somebody that's in that 2-year dark place we're going to talk about to have a reference point of two guys that can say, wait, no, there's a positive way to do that.
Yeah.
I say that to say this, right? A few days ago, we were talking about if I was to give it a name, the gong experience, right? And I asked you before we rolled, do you want to go there? So I'll let you dabble how you want to do it, because I think it's a very transformative phase of your life.
For my life, yeah.
And this is now speaks to our whole objective of this. There might be somebody in that gong experience.
Yeah.
And if they see the other side, this guy in the Nikes, there's like a great, there's a path.
There's a path.
So it's not all, it's not all doom and gloom. So as comfortable as you are, like, to talk about it, tell us about that gong experience.
Yeah, like, that whole, like, you're the prize.
Yeah.
Okay, you are. Don't forget.
But
you are.
Gentlemen.
But like, at the same time, like, you don't have to be self-destructive.
Because, you can think you're just doing your thing.
Yeah.
Tunnel vision. No, and you're thinking about, no, my goal is this. Our goal is there.
Yeah.
Right? But then we were taken aback by someone that's saying, listen, what you've done so far has done this for me.